Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Morning,
Or,
Brenda.
hi, Brenda.
Hi, everyone. Oh, hi, Becky. Hi, everyone. Hi, Lee.
Hi.
I basically just looked at my supervisor, said, I am leaving. I'll be back at 2:30. And I walked
Oh,
because we're just short staffed with the holiday week. And I'm like, you know what? It'll wait.
wonderful to have you here. What a blessing it is. Hmm. Okay, as people are getting here, just start with our meditation. Yeah, so just settling in from wherever our hearts and minds have been this morning, noticing the breath, noticing where we're feeling supported on our seat. And we're going to come again to the spine this week, the large miracle that is the spine and the cerebral spinal fluid. So many ancient cultures, the Greeks, the Persians, the Egyptians, the Hindus, all taught that within the human composition lay the laws, the elements, the powers, and the patterns of the universe. As within, so without. That we are, in fact, a microcosm of the whole, a celestial blueprint, if you will. Our actual form is a key to the riddle of the universe. And the spine, again, the center of our anatomy, the axis mundi, what's often in many traditions called the world soul, the center pole or the midline. It is the neural tube that shows up first in fetal development, carries the entire network of the central nervous system within it, that branches to every part of our bodies. And it's all bathed in this clear fluid that is like seawater. It's the part of our fluid system that's actually like salt water. And it bathes the brain and the ventricles and travels down this hollow canal, transmitting information, nutrients, hormones, instructions throughout the body. It's a crystalline liquid, like a crystal water flow and waterfall. Up and down bathes our brain. We produce and move about 2.5 cups of this sacred fluid every day. And our spinal column itself is made up of 33 sacred 33 vertebrae. In the Christian tradition, this fluid is called the Christ oil or the water of life. And in the craniosacral system, it is said that this movement of this fluid is the movement of divine intelligence within us, and that the soul swims in this fluid. And we know that through these beautiful water experiments by Masaru Emoto, we know that fluids absorb and store and transmit energy. So whatever's happening inside us and around us, this pathway is engaged. And we learned a little bit of these micro pelvic undulation movements. And I just want to invite that these micro pelvic hip movements can then be translated into the spine as a wave pattern, this natural wave that is the spine. And we can allow these undulations that initiate in the pelvis to move us like a wave. That this seawater of sorts in our spine knows how to be an ocean. It knows how to be an ocean. It knows how to be a surfer. It knows the dance of the wave. See if you can get that motion, that wave pattern going a bit in your body and enhance it or increase it. Let pleasure guide you. Let play guide you. Let the undulations up, down, let the wave play with you. Playing with the 33 vertebra like the 88 piano keys. Making music of a sort, of a form in your body. Letting the recognition of this crystalline waterfall within you, this deep ocean that you make and circulate. Let the awareness of it build a relationship with it. This water of life. And as you make these wave patterns and undulations, if you feel them strong enough and they make their way all the way to the top of the spine, they'll end up in that cave of Brahma, where the pituitary and the pineal sit at the edge of the pond and drink from the crystalline waters of the cerebral spinal fluid. They're nourished by these waters. Feel the sacred pattern of nature and of life within you and within your body. And the celestial blueprint and riddle that is you. And slowly making your awareness broader than the spine, maybe checking in with the heart, feeling the essence of the heart and the energy of the heartbeat. The heartbeat loves a wave pattern also. The whole system loves a wave. Maybe deepen your breath slowly and coming back to an awareness of what's around you, of the field, of us. Gently opening your eyes, coming back. We are all walking miracles, really. Breathing, heart beating miracles. Mm. So welcome. Welcome to week 11. Our topic for today is building a death literate community. It's going to be a sweet dive and very different than where we've been. Does someone want to share a beloved dead today? Marilyn, I see you. Satya, I think you shared a beloved dead already. Is that right? Okay, great. I'll come back to you if you have a question. Marilyn, would you share a beloved dead?
Thanks, Lee. I have I don't know if you can see in the pink image, this is my family, my nuclear family. And oh, here, I need to put my face near her so you can see it. I missed a class a couple of weeks ago, and my mom passed away last Monday.
Oh, wow.
So it's been a little bit of a challenge staying in the class with multiple things happening, including her being in hospice. But I found that my experience here really helped shape my experience with her dying in a very positive way. So I want to thank you, Lee, for providing that, and this group for providing that environment for me. But what I want to share about Mom was, and the picture is kind of interesting. I was reflecting on this particular picture, which is my two sisters are around my mother, and I'm a little further away, closer to my dad. And I realized looking at that's kind of how our family dynamics were. I was closest to dad. I think she was closest to the little sisters, and they were actually by her side when she passed, although I was there the week before for several days. So we all got an opportunity to be with her. And we are now reflecting on thoughts about her for her memorial service, which won't happen until January, and trying to come up with the words that resonate with us about her. So the Buddhist tradition is she will receive a Buddhist name at this time. And so the Reverend is reflecting on words that we're sharing with him about our mother to decide what her Buddhist name is going to be for her passing. Anyways, this big process for me right now. I just want to share that Mom was 96 when she passed, leading a very healthy, full, and I hope fulfilled life. I know there were things she would have liked to have had different, but I hope she feels complete with what she did during her life. And when I was by her side saying my last goodbye, she interestingly woke up, like had been sleeping a lot, was lucid when awake for brief times. As I was leaving to get on the airplane, she hadn't awoken when I had tried to say goodbye. I'm walking out her bedroom door and she wakes up. I see that she's awake. She motions me to come over. She's pointing to her ears because she wants her hearing aids. So we put her hearing aids in and she thanked me for being there, wished me good luck, which I interpreted to mean good luck, not for my trip back, for my life. She shared that she didn't think she was going to be there when I came back. And I shared with her that I'm going home and you're going home, Mom. You're going to be with Dad. Dad passed away 10 years ago, and she very peacefully went back to sleep. So thank you, Lee, for helping ground me in that experience.
Can you
And
share, Marilyn, are you open to sharing her name?
oh, yes, Shizuko Kakudo. Shizuko is Japanese for the quiet one.
Shizuko Kokudo. Yeah, and
Shizuko.
Marilyn, I wonder if you're open to just taking a moment of receiving, because what I feel in the field is a really big open heart right now for your share. And I wonder if you're willing to just receive our presence and our tears and our love and our hearts for you.
Sure, that would be lovely. Thank you, Lee, for offering that.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, and blessings to Mama who died in our course. Thank you. What a gift. What a gift your story was to me and to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, blessings to Mama on her journey, and to all who remain in their process of integration. And we're going to be touching on grief today, so this is a really good introduction and segue. Satya and Alan, did you have questions or something you wanted to shape? Okay. Alan, do you want to share a beloved dead next week? Shall we put you on the queue for next week?
Very simply, I just had a very rich experience with my former wife, who is getting close to the end of her life. I can share that next week, or I can share that now.
Please share that. Let's hold that for next week.
Thank you.
Alan sitting on a train. I love it. Modern life. um, Satya, I'd love to hear this something new, but let's do that today, and let's do a little intro first and come back to your share in a bit. Yeah, so I have a couple of quotes primed for us today as we enter our time together. One is this beautiful quote, and I'm not sure who wrote this, but the only things you can take with you when you die, when you leave this world, are the things you've packed inside your heart. The only things you can take with you when you leave this world are the things you've packed inside your heart. I know that we have some undone things from last week, but my proposal since it's been sort of an intensive, slightly heady journey over the last couple weeks, is that we return to financial and decluttering and other issues next week and really just sink into connection this week around community. Does anyone have a concern about that if we just really settle a little? Okay. That was really great to have Scott last week, but I don't know that I can do another week of finances right now. I feel like I need to bathe in the crystal waters of connectedness first. And I'm wondering maybe other people felt that too. So our journey today is going to be some more breakout rooms and some connections. And I specifically want to work with the importance of community. And since we have such a beautiful village that we've created here for these weeks, I want to take advantage of that. And I want to work with grief and with fear as a sort of experiment, as a way to build our capacity to work with this within community. So I'm just going to do a little bit of an intro to building the death literate community, and then we're going to go ahead and do breakout rooms for grief, come back and share, and then do a little bit around fear. And yeah, our meditation's going to play into that work with us today. So, we can certainly talk about the practicals and the logistics about how to build death literate community. Oh, thank you, James. James and Hannah are together. Yeah. So Anna, please note that James and Hannah are going to go into just one room with their one phone or internet connection. I used to, do this, and we can certainly talk about the logistics of book clubs and how to pull people around who are death literate, because after this course, we really need that. We need to be able to keep these conversations going. But I think the deeper piece that I want to do, is really like, what can we do together? How can we be supportive to each other? Because it's sort of, I've joked about it, but it's so real, which is, let's build a village so then we can die in it, right? Let's build a village so we can die in it. Because the truth is, we're not meant to fear alone. We're not meant to grieve alone, and we're not meant to die alone. This rugged, independent, I'll do it all myself business is a made-up myth. It's a construct from a system that benefits from separating us. There's a lot of benefit from separating us. And we talk all the time about recovering from trauma and building resilience and windows of tolerance and all of this fabulous, wonderful, fabulous trauma-informed stuff. It's important. But what we don't talk about is that without being embedded in community, we're constantly traumatized. Without being embedded in a system that helps us navigate life, that in and of itself is an opposite of resilience. So we need community, because resilience doesn't exist in one organism. It doesn't exist in one person. It resists in a system, in a whole. And most of us probably realize that we can get through most anything if we have a container of care. And most of our unprocessed experiences are because we didn't have connection. We didn't have guidance, whether it's a childhood experience or an experience in adulthood. It's living in us unprocessed because we didn't have the guidance, support, care, and holding of a larger context. So to do anything well, we need community and a commitment, an attachment, if you will, a secure attachment to the fabric of the whole, where our hearts can be soft, where our bodies can be open, where our experience can be validated, where our emotions can be real. So I was taught by my mentor, Soban Fusome, that grief, all grief, all grief is a community affair. There is no personal grief. If you're grieving, it belongs to all of us. It belongs to all of us. So developing a death literate community means developing a feeling-based, nervous system literate, emotional literate community. And we're on a very long journey towards that. But we start where we are. We start where we are. So we're going to work a bit with grief today. And we're going to do breakout rooms, and we're going to do our best. We're going to play with this. We're going to have the grand experiment. And what we'll do is we'll pair up, and I'm going to give you some instructions, and we're going to take turns. And so I'm thinking 10 minutes each person. But if you all feel differently or want a different amount of time, let me know. And the first round, one person will be the one that's grieving and will bring the grief, and then we'll switch. And so grief is just a little context about grief. Grief is a prayer. Grief is a prayer. Grief is a prayer of thanks. It's a prayer of gratitude. I was taught that grief feeds the ancestors. It is food for the ancestors. It is food for the earth. It is food for the water in and around and outside of us. Because life is filled with loss. And we need to be able to move and mourn. And grief is a wave pattern in the body, which is why we're doing this spinal fluid process of waves that start from within and move from within. And much like ecstasy or much like eroticism, grief moves in that wave pattern. And if we can learn to move grief, that energy through the body, through our spine, through this movement, we can learn to ride the surfboard on the wave of grief. We can get familiar and intimate with this process. And it's much like a medicine journey for those of you who have done some or curious about doing some. What you do is you set an intention, and then you allow yourself to be obliterated by the experience. You allow yourself to disappear, right? So grief is very much like that. Grief is, I'm going to set an intention. I'm going to set an intention to be with this, and then I'm going to let myself be obliterated by this. For anyone who's familiar with the shamanic paths, journeys, there is a lower world journey in the shamanic tradition, which is called dismemberment. And it's when you let your spirit animal, your spirit guide devour you, dismember you, rip you apart. Because you have a deep level of trust with this guide, and you need to be taken apart. We say yes to it. It's a conscious descent into death. So as we pair up in this beautiful sacred community, the suggestion to try on is trust this container. We've been building this field for months. Trust the field, trust yourself. And as the griever, when it's your turn to grieve a loss. Something that's dying or has died. Pick something that has a lower charge in your system, or only allow it to have about a 30% charge, just because we only have 10 minutes and it's a dip the toe in. Something smaller, maybe a disappointment. And work with the wave pattern in the spine. Work with allowing it, certainly talk about it if that's going to prime your pump, but work with the wave pattern in the spine. See if you can get that grief moving in the body. And for the listener, for the one who's holding container, the gods look kindly on the griever and therefore protect them. So it's really a simple job for you as a listener. You bring presence and you normalize this process. You bring trust in the process. That's all. You trust grace. You just trust grace. And you just trust that grief knows where to go. Does 10 minutes feel like enough time, or should we do longer? 10 minutes feels like enough. Okay. So you'll decide quickly who's going to go first. The person who's bringing the grief will have 10 full minutes. And really see if you can just name that grief. Let that grief take you over. Let that body, spine, trust grief. Trust it. Again, pick something on the smaller end that you can metabolize. And then the space holder, just trust the process. Just bring presence. Just bring grace, love, heart, however that lives for you. And then you switch. So, Anna, we're going to set the clock for 22 minutes, and that will give 10 minutes and some transition time. So y'all will have to, we can give a broadcast when we're halfway through, but you'll have to sort of do some time tracking for yourselves. Questions before we go? Questions? Okay. Blessings on your grief. Whenever you're ready, Anna. All right, welcome back. I'm just going to read you a quick quote. We'll take a break. Meister Eckhart again. It is a lie, any talk of God that does not comfort you. It is a lie, any talk of God that does not comfort you. Great. See you back at couple 3 minutes after the hour. Take a good break and we'll process and unpack what you did. Tell me about grief. Isn't that a Mary Oliver poem too? Tell me about grief. I'll look it up real quick. Can't find it. I'll look for it. Yeah, so this is a good time to share with the whole group, and just a reminder that your shares contribute to the field. They contribute to other people. The only thing we might be more illiterate about in this culture is grief besides death. So here we are, we're experimenting with this. And anything and everything that came up for you, including absolutely nothing to, so I just saw someone say anger, to, any of it. It's really helpful when we share because that helps us normalize and put into perspective the whole spectrum of experience. So who would like to share?
I can share.
Please.
So there's this maple tree outside of my window. The yellow leaves are just almost gone. And this is my tree friend who has been with me for 10 years, has been through a lot. It's been really kind of a grounding presence. And I'm already starting to grieve, knowing I'm going to be moving, and I'm going to get emotional right now already. This is my tree friend that the branches, the leaves are right up against my window. And this and key, so this is key. Going through the seasons with this tree has been just unbelievable. The lessons. And right now, as I start letting go of all of my stuff and downsizing, and the leaves continue to let go, and this tree is just like, I'm with you every step of this let go process. And and I'm reminded of the energetic connection and of the fact that I am never alone. I am connected to all of my ancestors, all of the people who have been part of my spiritual journey. And I go always back to the gratitude of the impact that this tree and everyone in this life has had on my journey. And it's just, and just knowing that I'm going to be in a community and the grieving process can be shared with community, to me is just so, it's going to just be so wonderful to not feel, to like just know that we're going to grieve all kinds of things together, as I've grieved all kinds of things with this tree for the last 10 years. I know it sounds a little crazy, but oh my gosh, I love this tree.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for listening.
Thank you so much. Such a blessing to be able to attach to nature, to pets, to, to these places that are safe for us to attach to and solid, and with the vicissitudes of life and people, and most of us having attachment injury. It's really grounding to attach to these cycles, these natural processes. That was a really good example. Really good. Thank you, Brenda. Who else would like to share? We just did a grief and eros ritual. If Damon Sean wants to talk about it, he can, but we had a group of, I don't know, 20 of us on the Day of the Dead, and my Tantra community, so we did a lot of work with the wave of the spine, but we did it and brought in a lot of eros to the grief. And it's one way we're playing and experimenting with, like, okay, how do we do this grief and gratitude and eros, and like how do we move it? And people's experiences were really across the spectrum. Like, some folks just this one group held each other and just fell asleep for most of the day. Another group were really, laughing a lot. Other people were crying and moving in big energy. People were moving around and being with varying different others, and some people were just staying with another person all day. So, just like the incredible breadth of expression when we open this door and this inquiry to moving this energy in our bodies. And if we had, if we did this every month, for example, we'd get a whole year's worth of information of what grief could look like. And it probably would look different for us and everyone else every single time. So really just wanting to invite, how does it feel? How does it look? How does it feel? How does it taste? How does it smell? To sort of like move these waters in our bodies, these waters of loss, these waters of grief. Jeff.
And in the breakout room talking with Carl, I kind of realized for the first time that I was in grief after the election. Now, you normally feel grief is to do with death of an individual, of a person. But the grief after the election was that, oh my God, the world is not going the way I want it.
Yeah.
And then I thought to myself, if we'd won, the Democrats had won, it would have been joyful. And it made me think, well, grief and joy are the same thing. They're the difference between what I want and what I get.
Wise words. There's a difference
Yeah,
between
so
what I want.
it's up to me whether I view something as worth grieving or something as worth celebrating.
Yes. A beautiful wisdom, really, is on multiple levels there, Jeff. The grief at the cultural, at the collective level, and that's a really good example of that. And we have grief on so many levels, and then the
It was so
very,
satisfying to be in the co-housing community, being with everyone that was also grieving.
yeah, right, right. There's no personal grief, as Sobanfu would say. It's all collective. And
Yeah.
then the other piece of wisdom in that is, there's a very fine line between grief and joy, or grief and praise. One of the resources I'm going to put for you this week is a 3-part series on YouTube called Grief and Praise by a man named Martin Prechtel, who's an incredible deep teacher of this wisdom. And I would highly, highly recommend. It'll change your life it's just audio. If you listen to all 3 sections of the grief and praise, and he talks so much about how grief is praise for what we love. It's praise
Oh,
for what we love.
yeah.
Because it means something to us. It matters to us. It means that we care. It means that we care. Thank you, Jeff. Satya, please.
Well, this reminds me of the moment that I really knew and was praised as truly being a tantrika, which was on the phone with my tantra teacher. It was so many years ago now. But I think I had just come from a tantra event, and so was just like, oh, in all the glory and the aliveness of, just full body orgasm, and with just the wind on my skin. And then I was on the phone with her because I was having a breakup. And I was just like grieving so hard. And I remember the moment that I went, oh my God, this feels exactly like that orgasm. And she was like, my darling, you are a tantrika. It was like, ding! Like I was crowned in that moment. It changed everything for me. That moment changed everything for me. And then I feel like we had 3 levels of tantra teachings, or 4 levels. Was it 3? It was 3. And then I was just like, I'm on the 4th level. I'm just walking it. I'm living it. It's integrated. And I appreciate the reminder in this moment again, so I can deepen back into my commitment of that knowing and living that way. So thanks, Jeff.
Yes. Can we be in as much ecstasy when we get what we want as when we don't get what we want? And the ecstasy of disappointment, the ecstasy of failure, the ecstasy of deep loss, you know. Very good. Thank you, Satya. Who else? Other share? Carl?
Um, I would say I was on the lower end of the experience. I think I was just mostly unwilling to go there and not wanting to put my energy or release my energy, maybe. Um, so that's about all. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I was that's it, really.
that's completely legit, especially in a container that's pretty limited in time and scope and maybe with someone you don't know. And so I think, you know, the invitation for you is to play with, maybe listen to those recordings or play with this in yourself. You know, one of the things you can do is like Brenda was saying, like go grieve with a tree,
Hmm.
with a creek, with, you know,
Hmm.
the sky, with the earth. That might be a place that you can move some of that energy.
I feel like it's there and that I need to release it.
Yeah.
It's just have the willingness to let it go.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, a bit of a, you know, just an end cap to this particular teaching is that, you know, we are all meant to live and die surrounded by a matrix of wholeness. And even though that's not the kind of world that many of us have experienced much of in this life, there is hope. Because we are collectively finding our way backwards and forwards to the village on a lot of levels. But certainly the conscious death and dying movement is profoundly emergent right now. And we're standing on the shoulders of hospice, which was so radical and still is in many ways. We're standing on the shoulders of many, many, many pioneers in this work. And so the group field is very intelligent. And you all, us all, are pioneers nourishing that group field as we explore these things. So there is support, there is wisdom, there is this evolutionary pattern upgrade all around us. It's where we're headed, it's unstoppable, and it's very available. So through these exercises, you're getting the feeling in your body of what it means to build community in this way. So I'm interested in doing another breakout for us to look at fear together. How is that? Does that feel good to folks? Okay. Yeah, so the sort of teaching around fear is this. There's a gift in every fear. Every fear contains a blessing. Big blessing. There's treasure in there. Joseph Campbell said, "The cave we fear to enter, the cave we fear to enter holds the treasure we seek. The cave we fear to enter holds the treasure we seek." The cave we fear to enter holds the treasure we seek. So if we're going to get into the body and follow its wisdom, we need to be able to be present for whatever's there. And so many of us haven't had the practice or experience of being with an unwinding fear. And a lot of fear comes up for people and ourselves and in others around death. And the truth is the body holds our divinity, but it also holds our imprints and our traumas and our incomplete beliefs. So if you're going to be working with death and dying at some level in your life, you're going to come smack up against fear. Our usual defensive response to fear is clinging, control on one hand, or collapse on the other, right? This is what we do. These are the beautiful Pema Chodron quotes, which is, can we stay in insecurity, in how does she say? Uncertainty, ambiguity, and insecurity. Uncertainty, ambiguity, and insecurity. Can we train there? Can we actually stay there? That makes us bigger. And from my perspective, the only way through the fear is to befriend and embrace it. It's the only way. There is no other way. This is where community comes in. We get to hang out. And we get to have another person help us hang out there. See if we can unpack it some. Relax in and around it. So there's 3 tools that I use. One is gentleness. Can we be very, very gentle with ourselves when we touch fear? Very, 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 very gentle. So that means if we can touch it, or if we can only touch it a little, or if it's not there at all, or if it slips away, or if it's too big, it's all just part of the process of us learning. That's tool 1. Tool 2 is embodiment. And this is just a classic embodiment trick from the best of the trauma work right now, which is finding a place in our body that feels grounded and resourced, right? So we don't dive into the fear head first. We feel the places in us that feel whole, that feel neutral, that feel solid. And sometimes even around our body, that is sometimes helpful. In and around our body where things feel okay. And then we titrate a little bit at a time, like, ooh, there's that fear. Can I stay 90% in the places that feel solid and 10% touch the fear? Or 80-20. Embodiment is the second tool. And then the third tool is regulation, which is using the nervous system of another to help us feel connected, right? This is where community comes in. So if I'm with another and I say, I'm going to really look at this fear, and sometimes even just naming the fear is enough to elicit the gentleness and elicit the embodiment and elicit the unwinding. Sometimes just a loving presence where we can name it. And as we have that tolerance and as we unpack and unwind and be present and be gentle with that fear, there is always a gift there for us. It's like a treasure hunt. We don't know what it is because we've been avoiding that spot. We don't know what it will look like. We don't know where it will lead us, but there is a gift. So we're going to do breakout rooms again, Anna. You can just random people. And again, the invitation is to trust the field, trust the container that we've been building here, taking 10 minutes each. And the person that's going into the fear, same thing. Pick a fear that's registering 30% or less in your life. I have a fear of bumping into something in the middle of the night, or I have this, fear of, I don't know, anything. Pick it just, your 30% is not going to be somebody else's 30%. So pick a fear. And then see if you can, still use that spinal awareness, that beautiful crystal waterfall wave pattern in your spine, and see if you can be gentle Be embodied in the places that feel solid and be connected to this person who's holding some beautiful space for you, and see if you can't just give it some space. We can begin to sit with our fears. We can begin to sit with other people's fears. And if we're going to be involved in death, we're going to need to sit with other people's fears. Because death is scary. And then if you're the one who's holding space and witnessing, listening, same instructions, just presence, just love, just grace. You're probably not going to be afraid of the same thing that person is afraid of. So your grounded presence provides the regulation for them to do some vulnerable unwinding. Is this making sense? Okay, great. We'll do another 22 minutes, Anna, and we'll shout out at you halfway through. Any questions before we go? James and Hannah will be in their own space. And Alan, what's your story?
No, just a quick question. What was the first of the three on fear? I just wanted to get my note written down.
Gentleness. Gentleness is the first approach to fear, embodiment, and then regulation.
Thank you.
And are you able to partner, Alan?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
great.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, and Damon, Sean, it seems like can be what do you call that? Pitch hitter? Switch, pitch. Anyway, he can go in a breakout room or not, depending on the numbers you have, Anna. Okay, I think we're ready. Pinch hitter, thank you. All right, making our way back. I love that little timer. It's really great. Um, I found the poem I was looking for, which is a very famous Mary Oliver poem, but it's not the famous part of the famous Mary Oliver poem. Her poem, Wild Geese, where the animal body, which is the first part of the poem, is quite famous. It's almost like the second part of the poem is a separate poem. And she says, "Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the river. Meanwhile, the wild geese high in the clean blue air are headed home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. Announcing your place in the family of things." Yeah. So fear, how was that for you? How was the fear unwinding, touching, witnessing, being gentle with? Darlene. You're muted, sweetie. We can't hear you.
So hello. I'm always teary. I think it's a great thing for you.
Great.
Yeah. It was really wonderful to feel witnessed and to explore, as usual. Yeah, as a listener and to be able to share. I thought it was interesting about the meditation today. You shared about the spinal fluids and all of that, and I really love that. I think that also tapped into some of my grieving my fear with experiencing just wanting to plan just wanting to be a good witness and to have this feeling of connectivity, like within my own family. My dad, he had been diagnosed as not being able to drain, his body is not able to drain the fluid or his brain down his spine. And so he has lost some of his ability to have more mental clarity, plus also the pre-existing kind of not really being able to be aware of his body sensations. So I think having this course is helpful for me to think about my own end and informing my life, but also giving me this space to be able to hear others and process my own feelings, and just having this space where we can hold this sort of mirroring exploration and witnessing of each other. So it was very emotional for me. And I'm very, very in need of and appreciative of the one-on-ones. You're facilitating it and just the group.
Thank you, Darlene.
Yeah.
Yeah, we so lack this, we so lack this. And we're finding our way. But when you're putting out your bat signal for community, for deaf literate community, ask for this. Ask for this. This is what you want. This is the ability, as Darlene said, to be witnessed, to be reflected, the ability to be in grief and fear together, the ability to be human, the messiness of it all. That's what you want. And communities may be learning that, so bring leadership, have patience, build the muscle. I'm in a pretty sophisticated community, and we're just now touching on how to grieve together. Some people are farther ahead on the journey, and so how do we, share those things? How do we share the gifts with each other? Did anybody feel the gift in the fear? Anybody want to share the gift if they found it in the fear? Alan. And then Heather, I'd love to hear from you. Go ahead, Alan.
I felt the gift in the fear, and that I chose the 30%. And the 30% was I've spent the last several days sitting with my phone.
Alan, where you might have some low signal or something, because we're getting a warbled version of you. We'll come back. Alan, we'll come back to you when you have, maybe we'll see if you have better signal in a minute. Anna, see if you can mute Alan for the moment, and you can go ahead, Heather.
Yeah, I think the gift I noticed is it can be both and. I'm curious, can you hear me okay, Lee?
It's a little low.
Okay,
It's the volume.
Um,
That's better.
okay, great. Yeah, the gift is that it can be both and. Like my fear that I expressed to Carla was long story short, like my mother-in-law really having no plan for end of life. And that I can fear that, and I can also, create spaciousness for the various feelings that might come along with that, the grief, or eventually when she does pass, which hopefully is many years from now, that, you know, I might be scrambling in terms of her care. But I can find ways to invite spaciousness for the grieving, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think that is yeah, that's a beautiful lesson on so many levels. I mean, oftentimes people will reach out to me in a situation like yours and say, you know, X family member is dying and they're not doing it right. Right. And like I understand where they're coming from, right? They want to be having a certain experience, but the family member. And I was like, well, this is an incredible opportunity for you to do your own work around that. Right. And you know, that's a beautiful example you're bringing of doing your own work with your own fear of how someone else's lack of preparation is likely to impact you, right? And this is so beautiful in that you're doing the work around the fear, and then you can be, I believe, I hope, I imagine you can be more at choice about how you want to step in, you know, and be it more at choice about your boundaries, be it more at choice about what's coming, be more at choice about how you communicate with your partner, you know, like so I love that example. It's very layered. And that's a huge gift, just a huge gift. Thank you. Alan, do you want to try again?
I literally had pulled into Union Station in Los Angeles at the moment that I started speaking. So I have had to switch over to Amtrak's Wi-Fi at the station here. I sat with my former wife for 2.5 days, short days because she's tired. She has perhaps less than a year to live from metastasized cancer, but it was so healing to be witness to her talking about her fear of dying. And she has a well-established practice. She has her community, but just to be able to give her witness and share that fear.
Yeah.
That's really all I wanted to say.
Thank you. What a gift.
Thank you. I may have to leave any moment, but I'm here for now.
I feel like
Thank you for listening.
I feel like we're all on the train with you.
We are on one train or another, certainly.
One train or another. Yeah. Yeah, so how, you know, Satya, I want to get back to your beautiful celebration. Are you ready for that, or would you are you in a good place for that?
Yes, yes. I think so. So, there's a friend in the hospital who is scheduled to die today. Let me just take a breath. You know, when I saw on Facebook that she was in the hospital, she's the daughter of a friend of mine. And the friend was my doula for my daughter, my second daughter. And I really wanted to be able to be of support, you know, and be her doula. As she leaves, she's a very, very, very bright soul with a very tortured life. And she's had a traumatic accident. So I guess in June, she said she wanted to donate her organs. So they're keeping her alive so they can harvest her organs, which has felt very, very intense for me. And I did not go to see her. I tried to go to see her. I ended up doing a FaceTime. She's completely, you know, not let's see, unconscious and unresponsive. But I did a FaceTime healing on her to do a clearing. And it was incredibly intense to see someone in that condition. And I tried to get there to be with her. And I really feel like it was divine divinely orchestrated for me to not get there, and let it be enough, whatever I did, if anything. But it's also very confronting in this new line of path, this life path that I'm on. And I think it's okay that was really hard for me to see, and it took me down for a day and a half. I just worked with the energy similar to all of this. I just acknowledged it and noticed that it was a lot for me to hold. And so I'm just in that, and I just wanted to presence it and also speak her name. Taylor Elise Johnson. Thank you.
Thank you. And is she still on track to be departing today? Is that still? Mhm.
As of now, you know, yeah, as of now, depending on the hospital schedule and all of that, which I find just so fucking confronting. Just like,
Yeah. I mean,
very much.
Satya, just a context has really set herself up in a short, intense course of becoming a death walker at this time. And so a lot of these experiences, like they're taking you to your own edges. And
Yeah.
that is brave and courageous work. So Taylor Elise Johnson, sending blessings
Thank
from
you.
our field to hers and her organ recipients and her family and you and all that you're moving through with all of this. So thank you. Thank you for that.
From appreciate it.
Mhm. So we have a few minutes. What else is alive for people around deaf literate community? Either for those of you who live in actual residential community, or for folks who build community in other ways, or for folks who are feeling a lack of community. What's there from this time together today? What are you calling in? Maybe what are you creating intention around after having these experiences today? Becky Lubel.
I'm realizing how much I'm learning from this course, and I'm realizing how much more learning I have to do. And in building this community with my buddies and with people that I'm meeting, and there's a lot more to learn and practice. And so this is only a beginning for me, and that's kind of what I'm learning and realizing and committing to at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's that whole map of like, we don't know what we don't know. And now we're starting to get a sense of we sort of know what we don't know, And so it's like, wow, it's vast.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think it's quite hard to get to this point and then be around people who won't even talk about death, right? Or who won't even talk about any aspect of it. It becomes hard when we have this richness, even on Zoom with this beautiful community village we've created over these weeks. It really does become challenging to put the genie back in the bottle when we've, started to have a relationship there.
Mhm.
So yeah, thank you for that. Yeah. What else? Carla.
Okay, there it goes. Well, I was raised in a family where both my parents were in helping professions, and they were both also really into personal growth. And so I had this kind of we had this unspoken demand that I have to be helpful in the most absolute way. Like someone like what Satya said, that she wasn't able to be there physically with this friend of hers, and that she has to realize that what she was able to give is enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I really struggle with that sometimes. It's like, well, okay, I give to the food bank, but I'm not really solving world hunger. So it's a matter of like getting a perspective. And what you said really struck me, Lee, about doing your own work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then also what Heather shared about the spaciousness.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm dealing with loved ones who are in decline, I don't have to choose between totally sinking into my own reactions about it and being helpful to them.
Mm-hmm.
I can learn how to do this dance
Mm-hmm.
where I can do both. But I think that's why it's so important, if possible, to have a group of people,
Yeah.
not just me and that loved one.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I love the themes here. It sort of goes back to, Marilyn's share earlier in Buddhism, the Buddha, the Sangha, and the Dharma, right? Like we need the teaching, we need the teacher, and we need the community, right? So that when a situation like Heather's or like Satya's being really confronted by the choice that this young woman is making, by the trauma in the family, by potentially the unresolved issues, she's feeling all of that. And yet she's doing her best to be present and clear and honoring of the choices of this family. And so you need a place to process all that. You need a place to come back to be like, they're doing it wrong. Ah, you know, or they're doing it in a way that's not sitting well with me. They're doing it in a way that I know could be better, right? We need a place to come with that if we're going to be doing death work. We have to absolutely be present with what is, and then do our own grief work, do our own processing. Because we are in a completely fragmented worldview now. If we're this death literate and this based in community understanding of death, and then we go into these places where people cannot even, have the basic understanding of death as a gift. This is, we're walking between the worlds. This is not easy. This is not easy. So how do we anchor that in community? How do we, grab our buddies that we build here and other places to say, like, I just need to vent about this, or I just need to move this energy in my own body. And I love how you said it, Carla. I don't need to choose between helping someone and having my own experience of that, right? Having my own feelings about that. Very good. Well, I do have one last reading for you before we go. I had a lot of them today. I felt like we needed a lot more poetry in our lives after last week. So this is the beloved Andrea Gibson. I've shared Andrea Gibson a lot. And it comes back to this teaching of as within, so without. Big teaching. She says, the first time I visited the Grand Canyon, I was in a shame, deadened, terrible mood, and I saw nothing but a hole in the dry boned earth. I left cursing the overrated wonder of our world. The next time I visited the Grand Canyon, I was high on having just discovered poetry. But I rolled up to the place expecting to see the same mediocrity I'd seen before. Instead, my jaw dropped 5,000 feet to the flushed face of a primrose blooming beside a river that was licking 6 million years of tectonic plates, serving the best meal my eyes had ever been served. I didn't know what happened until many years later when I heard Anais Nin say, "We do not see this world how it is. We see it how we are. We do not see this world how it is. We see it how we are." Regularly reminding myself of this sentiment has changed my life for the better in so many ways. We do not see this world how it is. We see it how we are. Thank you all. So wonderful to be with you, as usual. Thank you for our beautiful, rich, nourishing field, and we'll see you next week, and I'll hang out here for a little bit. Carolyn Douglas shared a book, The Ultimate Journey, Consciousness and the Mystery of Death by Stanislav Grof. Yes, another little psychedelic pioneer there. The book connects cultures, ritual, neuroscience, and dying. Excellent. How psychedelics can facilitate. Excellent. Yes, thank you. I will put that on my list. Thank you so much, Caroline.
Thank you all. Bye.
Bye, Satya. Oh, so rich today. Glad you were able to join us a little bit, Becky.
I'm glad I could join a little bit. I'm with my family, and the gift today was remembering that 4 years ago, before my mother died, she said, "You know, I have no comfort facing death. I don't have any religion. I'm afraid." And at the time, I thought I could do more, but this helps me realize that for her to share that as a witness was a lot, was enough. So.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, just naming our fears. So helpful. Yeah, I'm glad that could be a puzzle piece for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share with you, Lee, that I am actually in Asheville this week.
Oh.
Yeah, and I'm finding so many parallels. I'm with friends who just took the Ollie course at UNC last year on death and dying. So we've been having a lot of good conversations. Tomorrow, we're going to go out to the conservation burial ground. But we've been talking a lot, and there were a lot of, Aditi had been to their course and Melissa had been in their course. So it's a lot of nice exploration and feeling the energy of the conscious living and dying movement here in this place, even as my heart, just bleeds for what I'm seeing here.
Mm-hmm. Are you friends with Aditi and Melissa?
No, I'm not, but they had both spoken in this class that my friends took.
I see.
So, yeah, I came here to try to be a little bit of help, but also just, because it's just knowing people here, it's to help them too and be supportive of them.
Thank you for coming to help. I mean, what a blessing that is for those of us here to receive that support. That's really beautiful.
Yeah, and the physical help is kind of limited what I can do now, but just to be in with the energy and feel the energy in the community that's happening here is really wonderful. So
yeah, I mean, the nice thing about babies being born is that there's always younger people to do some of the stuff that we can't do as we age out.
Exactly. Yeah.
The cycle of life.
So feeling this movement towards community support of so many things, including death and dying and resilience. So
Yeah, we have a gift here. I don't know what it is. I don't know why this place is, but there's just, yeah, I think it seems like we have to have a death and dying conference here or something. There's just so much moving in this region.
Yeah.
It's really powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thank you and everyone who's here in this field that we're building and this support that we're building, because this has been amazing to me and will continue to be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Everybody's presence just so contributes to that. It's really tangible. Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Emery. Bye, Carl.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you, Darlene. Thanks for sharing today.
Thanks. I'm sorry, I feel like a lurker a lot of times, but it means so much. I hope to give to the space too.
Yeah, I mean, I really trust people to show up how is best for them. And I honestly, truly believe it's a contribution. However is alive for us to show up is a contribution to the whole. So,
Thank you.
yeah, yeah. All right, Anna, I think we're